Hi, everybody. Welcome to another of our episodes uh, of Healing Pathways, where we bring experts from different arenas uh, in their own specialty here to ISIS Technologies to share information that can make a difference in the opportunity to improve the quality and the healthfulness so that you're living your best life. Today, we have Tim Mitchell. Tim is the president and the founder of ASIET, and it is a company that manufactures very cutting edge technology in the form of purification systems for air and not just purification systems for your bedroom, but potentially for many other areas of where we live and how we live our lives. And I asked Tim if he would be with us today to share with you so that you could learn about the opportunity to really clean up our environment because we are clearly negatively impacted by our environment between the G and the environmental toxins in the ground from the groundwater from people dumping all of their medications down the toilet. We have a very toxic world we're living in right now. And Tim Mitchell and his company and his team are doing something about it. Tim, thank you so much for being with us today. I greatly appreciate it. I would love for you to introduce yourself and share a little bit of your vision for, at least to begin, how did you come to start the company? And I know that in your last life that you were a painting contractor, and you're obviously a very mechanically inclined individual and have a vision and really want to help people. But I'd love to know, and I'm sure that our viewers would as well, before we get into the nuts and bolts and the mechanism of action of your system and what differentiates it from others, how did you come to start the company and give us an idea of a little bit of the roadmap that got you here, and then we can launch off from there.
Well, first of all, thank you, Dr. Brender, for having me on, and I greatly appreciate your time. Yes, in the beginning of my life, which I'm be 76 in a day or two, in the beginning of my life, I was working my way through college at Texas Tech, and I started a company called Technique Painting Contractors, and I did that for 37 years, and it was very good and very successful business for me. My son had moved off to Wichita, Kansas, working in the aircraft industry, and had been offered 2 vice presidencies early on in his career. So I asked him if he would consider coming home and working in the family business. And after sweeping floors and sanding doors, he decided he didn't want to do the painting. So we started up a fire water restoration company. 1 year into doing the fire and water restoration, I had numerous insurance companies ask me to do mold remediation. And I was approximately 50 at that time and didn't really want to start anything new because I'd already started one thing new. A group of them called me in for a meeting one day, and I think there were 7 of them, and told me that I did a great job with fires and rebuilding buildings and floods, but whoever did that type of work in the future would also do mold restoration. So I was drafted into the mold remediation business. We did approximately 220 something mold remediation projects, and we followed the protocols to exact overkill even, and we still fail 20 something% of the time. So I called in a group of my employees and we talked about it. And I told them, I said, insurance companies don't pay you to put 2 windshields in the car. If you break one, you pay for the second one. But I said, we've got to get better on our percentages of success. And I started dealing with some scientists at Texas Tech, which, by the way, now Texas Tech has our equipment in every classroom, in every lecture hall there. And that was 20 something years in happening. But I started working with several scientists at Texas Tech and several engineers that I'd formerly was on the football team with. And we started tinkering with different devices to try to kill mold. And literally, we stumbled across photocatalytic oxidation. And that was used by the United States government in different facilities like submarines to clean the air in submarines. After we made a very crude box and started putting it in the mold restoration jobs, we found out a couple things. We found out that we never failed a mold test. The next 220 something jobs, not one of them failed, except one. And the one that failed, one of my superintendents decided it was such a small job that it wouldn't warrant a $300 a day device being rented to the insurance company. So with the exception of that one job, it killed all the mold in every project, and we passed our air quality test. Surprisingly, it reduced our labor 44%. Now you'd ask, how in the world could that reduce the labor? The answer is, once you clean something, you didn't have to go back and reclean it. It didn't cross-contaminate. And that's what I'm seeing all over the country now, is sick buildings being caused by cross-contamination and the introduction of contaminants that can't get out of the inside of the building. So that's a very long answer to how I got started.
So Tim, so that this, I've got all these plates spinning in my head right now about all my questions. To start, if you would go back to what you call the system, and you said that this X system is what they used in the submarines. Mention that again and speak to that and let us know more about what that is so that we can understand more about the differentiation between your system and other systems that are not able to do to mold what yours can.
Well, quite simply, we don't filter the air. We destroy what's in the air. And we do it through photocatalytic oxidation. Now, different people will claim to do photocatalytic oxidation. And quite honestly, the reason mine test, and we've got all kinds of tests that's been independently done. We've got a white paper on Candida auris that we prove we kill it. But me being a painter, I learned how to do some stuff, and I learned how to put the precious metal on where it was in higher concentrations and would last the full year. So our systems all come with replacement kits. At the end of 1 year, the 254 nanometer bulbs are their killing power is 0. So once a year, you need to put new bulbs and new reactor pads, which is what we call our precious metal placed on a sacrificial surface that's being burned up, but it will last a full year. Mm-hmm. And it's the difference. I'll give you an example. The main thing used today in air purification is a HEPA filter. Mm-hmm. And a HEPA filter will catch down to a certain size. And here's a visual illustration of the difference. Ours will kill things that go right through a HEPA filter, like mycotoxins. Mycotoxins are so small a HEPA filter can't capture them. But here's an illustration. If you can picture a tennis court net being a HEPA filter and then lay cheesecloth across it, we kill stuff that's that much smaller that would go right through a HEPA filter.
And do you need to have the cheesecloth on there?
The cheesecloth's an illustration. I'm saying the size of a tennis court net, you can picture the size of that. And then imagine how small cheesecloth, that we destroy it 300 times smaller than can be captured in a HEPA filter.
Ah, I see. And what are we talking about in terms of time factor? So you take one of your machines and you introduce that machine into a Texas Tech classroom. And from the minute that it's turned on, does it stay on 24/7? Does it go off for a period of time? And how many hours would you say for a 10 by 20 foot space, or some space that you've done some studies on, before it is safe and clear to go in there in terms of, let's say, Candida auris or mold toxicity in that room? Can you give us some sort of an idea on that?
Yes. Immediately, when the air is sucked into the machine, it's killing whatever volume of air is being pulled into the machine. We make 22 machines. So that number varies according to what machine we're running. But I'm going to talk about our very smallest unit, okay?
All right.
Our very smallest unit does 120 CFM per minute, which is about 8,000 cubic feet an hour. So as we pull 8,000 cubic feet of air in an hour through there, it is going to kill everything that's pulled into it. Now, what science has proven, and I have no idea how it does this, I just know it does.
Mm-hmm.
Not only does it kill it in the chamber, but the air being blown out is killing the surface contaminants. They proved that with the Candida auris study that was done by the Research Center at Texas Tech. So basically, your question, do you run it 24 hours a day? 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Once a year, you need to stop, turn it off, put new parts in it, and turn it back on. That's about a 10, 15 minute. Well, you've done it, so it's about a 10 or 15 minute process.
Yeah, very easy, very super
Very easy to do.
Yeah, one master screw, lift the metal parts out, replace the bulb, replace the filters, and you're good to go. Very easy.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm not the most mechanical person, and I could figure it out and did it. I've done it 3 or 4 times at least, and each time it's just a couple of minutes, and the smallest unit is how small? Do you have a personal size unit? Because I've noticed at a lot of the functional integrative conferences, a lot of people wander around with a rope around their neck and a small device, and they're saying that blows ozone or different kinds of systems. Do you have anything that is a personal unit? And if not, when do you think you may? And what is the range in size from the smallest unit that you currently have, if not to the largest unit?
And answer your question, all of that stuff is in development, research and development.
Mhm.
And then we've also got some other devices. Anyway, there's 8 or 10 more that's in research and development right now. Presently, I think we have 22 different units. And you're just talking about the ease of doing the maintenance on them. I jokingly say by the way, I designed every machine we've got.
Mm-hmm.
And for all the engineers out there, I did it on a napkin with a pen and then sat down with somebody and got them to put it on a CAD drawing. But they work forever. We've got 95% of everything ever sold is still running. So 22 plus years, it's still working. But they come in all different sizes. We can do a complete school campus. We can do a complete hospital. We're working with 3 major hospital groups that we provide for. Oh, I didn't mention this. My oldest and my largest customer is Texas Department of Health. I've been working for them since day one, and I've done 22 quarantines of sick buildings for them. Mm-hmm. And you asked me how long it takes to get them clean. Mm-hmm. 10 days is how long it took to get all 22 of those clean. Now, let me tell you what I do when I get in a sick building, okay? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I figure the volume of air, and my goal is to turn it over 5 times an hour. That's a hypoallergenic building. When I get in a quarantined area, I do 3 times that. I'm turning it over 15 times an hour. And by turning it over 15 times an hour, it's normally clean in 3 days. but I leave it running economically reasoned. I charge a minimum of 10 days. It would probably be safe in 3, but I'm gonna charge them for 10, so I leave it running for 10 days.
Understood, understood. So now, how many classrooms and dorms at Texas Tech actually have your devices in them?
You know, that's been 2020 when we did that. I'm thinking it's around 800. And they have the 77. If you go to our website, Just Good Clean Air, they've got the 7,700 minis, but
Mhm.
they also have a number of the 7,720s, which is a hospital grade stainless steel unit that does as much air movement as 5.5 of the single minis.
Ah, I see.
And I love it. They wrapped them and put Texas Tech all over them, so you wouldn't know it's my machine now because it looks like Texas Tech.
Uh-huh. Very cool. They did a little wrap job on it. That's
Yeah,
neat.
yeah.
That's neat.
And some of my children in medical school there right now, and I got tickled the other day. One of my grandchildren saw one, and it had completely different wrap on it. It was in the med school there, so they do
That's
all kinds of neat
that's
things.
neat. And so tell us about, I understand that you have been in communication with the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, and I would love for our folks to know, how did you connect with them, and what is the current goal and action plan with them, and you know, just to give us an idea of kind of where things are with that current project.
Well, I met them completely through a God thing. I had a customer that was one of the first customers I had at Fort Bend and Katy ISD years ago. And she retired about 2 or 3 years ago and is totally retired. And then just out of the blue, she called me and asked me if she had permission to talk some of the schools in Houston that had no idea who I was. And I said, sure you do. Well, she introduced me to the director of Region 6 EPA. And he's just been reading up on reading our studies and reading up on us. And then just last week, he said we were going to get together before the month's over, which I guess that's a few days left, 10 days or so. But he then forwarded that to all the directors of the EPA nationwide. So I don't know where it's going to lead. I know they're asking all kinds of questions for answers, and I feel like we've got the answer for all their questions, because everything I've seen that they're trying to clean up, I know we can clean up with what we've already got and have had for many, many years.
And so in terms of cleaning, I know that you've got all these 22 different devices, systems, and they're all for cleaning air. Do you have any systems that also work with water? And do you imagine that at some point that will be an arena that you'll expand to, if not?
I've got a very dear friend and another old customer with the school district in Oklahoma, and that was his expertise. We talk and compare notes all the time about the difference in water and air, and he has done hundreds of indoor air quality tests. By the way, he's got numbers that prove after running our equipment, say you've got 10 rooms and you're running it in 3 of them, and the other 7 don't have it. He's run all kinds of independent testing, proving it's 98.6% cleaner air in the rooms where they're running. Do I think we'll ever get into water? I can't see it, but I never thought I would be making air quality products. So I guess the future holds what the future holds.
And now you've mentioned that there are several that are in sort of the development phase. Does one of those include, going back to my initial question about the smallest unit, do you have plans for a personal unit that people can wear so that when they're on an airplane or in an enclosed cabin or car, vehicle of some kind, that they can be protected there to some degree.
Yes, I'm working with a team on a personal device right now.
How soon do you think that will be out? We're in right now, it's September of 24. How long before we get to see that?
Have you ever herded chickens?
Yeah,
If you've ever tried to herd chickens, that's how quick it's going to happen. Nothing ever happens fast. It's
gotcha.
very time consuming. So I'm not going to even speculate on that. I can just tell you it has been talked out and we've got a theory, and with the research and development will come along. But what happens is every time there's an emergency, that takes up all your time trying to help
Of
people that's in
course,
crisis.
of
And
course.
literally, I have had so many people contact me through the years
Hmm.
that physicians have found out about me from some reason or another. And so it's a small percentage of our sales, but it's a large percentage of my time helping people that
Hmm.
have autoimmune disorders,
Hmm.
or they live in a sick building, or they don't know what to do. And I love to give free counsel to those people about trying to get them through what I've already learned in the mold restoration business, and then also what I've observed in our business. But the money's made with the big institutions, but the time is spent with people with personal problems.
Sure,
And just as important to me is the 800 units at a university.
absolutely.
And
And
they're
so,
onesies and twosies.
right, but that makes sense. You know, when you're being of service, that's always where the love is and the heart and the soul is, but it definitely takes a lot of time and energy as well. So I'd like to go back to the EPA question. So where do things stand right now with the gentleman who contacted you from the EPA, and what is your goal with them in terms of intention and where you
Okay.
would like to see things?
First of all, he did not contact me. I was given his name from one of my existing customers,
Okay,
and I contacted him.
got it.
And we've spoken one time on the phone. We've had 3 or 4 chats on the internet. But he told me he was going to research and look into everything that I was claiming. And I sent him a lot of the test results from different universities and schools that had done independent testing on what we do. So I can't answer that question other than to say, I guess he saw enough worth in it to pass it on to the other people at the EPA,
Mhm.
and told me that we would be talking before the end of the month. So, but he definitely did not contact me. I contacted him. But
Mhm.
I do feel like everything that I read on their website, when they're asking for how do you get chemicals that's been sprayed in a house, how do you get that out of there? Boom, we do it. How do you
Mhm.
get mycotoxins out of there? Boom, we do it. How do you get organic matter out of there? Every time it goes through the machine, it's destroyed. And it's all about how many passes an hour you can pull contaminant into the machine so you can make just good clean air.
That's fantastic. And so then the question that I'm imagining that some folks are wondering, other than taking a machine like the Mini, like I have in our bedroom, and had in my daughter's bedroom, who brought it to the university with her a couple of years ago. Do you have a whole house air filtration system?
Yes, we make several different versions that will do hook into the air conditioning. And every time the air conditioner is moving the air, it's cleaning every bit of air that's being moved.
I see.
Uh, but we've got like 7 of those, and then we've got 3 different portables. Most of the time, it's a combination of induct units and portables. I'll tell you why. Most people, particularly women, don't like the feel of air moving across them. They feel chilled whenever the air is moving. So if the air conditioner fan is running, it's going to feel cooler than it would with just a portable running in an area.
Hmm.
Now, that's another thing we need to get into. there's an energy savings that goes along with using this, because as you destroy the microscopic particulates in the air,
Mhm.
it's going to change the temperature in your home. It's going to feel cooler at 75 degrees. Say keep it set on 72. Most houses, they turn it up to 75 and feel just as cool as they did at 72, and vice versa with heating. But what's happening, you're capturing all that stuff that you can't see. And I can ask you this because I already know the answer. You have one, you know what you used to see floating around in your windows
Mhm.
that's not floating around anymore. And there's
No
a
way.
lot of it, and it's just gone.
Oh,
When it's
absolutely.
the air will
Yeah,
be easier to heat and cool. By the
absolutely.
way, each degree you change saves 7.5% energy consumption. The most I've ever seen was in a bank in Texas. And I've only seen it once, but it changed at 7 degrees. But I would expect your home to be changed 1 to 3 degrees in the ambience feel of the air.
Well, that's fantastic, especially for someone like my wife who is constantly burning up from hot flashes. So that would definitely make her very happy. And
Well, you need to put one in her car when she's traveling. You can, if you have an AC already in your car, but you can put an AC DC adapter. I
Mhm.
keep running one in my truck 24/7 everywhere I go.
And is that the mini? The mini?
It's just the mini, yes.
Uh-huh.
Those are also put in buses, school buses
Uh-huh.
and transportation. You mentioned something a minute ago, and I want to get back to it.
Mhm.
I've already worked with airline industries, and it's just a situation of money.
Mm.
But the average airline has about 15 return airs in there. And all that needs to be done to make an airplane hypoallergenic is to put our units in the return air.
Mhm.
Now, that sounds very simple, but it's about $500,000 per model to get it done because of all
Mhm.
the rules and regulations we're going to have to go through.
Mhm.
But I've already looked into when they're rebuilding airplanes, looking at those planes. It could be done in a ship, it can be done in a train, it can be done in a plane, it can be done in an automobile, it can be in any vehicle that a person would ride in.
And so are you saying that it's a 500,000 per aircraft?
Per plane, no. Let's say it's a model 47, okay? A 747. To go and get all of the patents and all the protocols you'd have to do for that one plane would be about $500,000. And there's hundreds of different models of planes, which means there'd be hundreds of $500,000 spent. So
Uh,
I'm going to be looking for an investor that wants to work specifically in that area.
Understood. Understood. And then once the tooling was done and that model was designed, what are you looking at per aircraft for, your typical 737 or 777, any of these larger aircraft? What would you say that it would cost per aircraft once the patent is done and the tooling is done and you've got the device manufactured? What would it cost to manufacture a device for an aircraft and to have it installed for labor?
I'm guessing, and I haven't put a pin to it, but I'm guessing 35 to $50,000. And basically what it would be is, say, 15. You know how your little machine you own, you take a screw out and you just slide something in.
Yep.
Well, it would be a little more complicated than that, but it would have the holding cartridge, and then we would just slide a cartridge, replacement cartridge in there, and then make sure the wiring was hooked up, and then all the air that's going through there is going to be treated. And there's lots of fumes that's in those airplanes from the
Mhm.
engines and the exhaust and stuff.
Mhm.
But just think of everybody that gets on there coughing and hacking, and Lord knows what person down the aisle has from you. Something else we haven't ever, you and I don't think have ever talked about Norwalk. Uh, Norwalk has been a big part of my business from day one.
Mhm.
When they get a outbreak of that, they use my machines to clean it up. And I hope someday to work with the shipping industry They've got what's called a recovery wheel in those ships.
Mhm.
And I know exactly how to clean the ships where the Norwalk will be killed when it goes one pass through that machine. And
And
there's
would you be
basically
willing
100,
to, sorry to interject, share with folks if
sir,
you would about what you're referring to, Norwalk?
say that one more time.
Go ahead and share with everybody what Norwalk is and what that
Okay.
entails.
Norwalk is what you hear, a ship goes out to ocean and everybody's vomiting and headaches and they're back in their rooms. And it's a lot of times in casinos, we do a lot of
Right.
casinos, but it's
Right.
often spread, it's a food based, but it's airborne. And when you get it, you're just very, well, if you people are medical, you know what Norwalk is. It's hell on wheels.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And this is able to completely neutralize that on a plane or a ship.
If, as long as we're pulling the air in where it can be destroyed. And it's all about, you can't put a siphon pump in the ocean and ever hope to drain the ocean, okay? So we're like a siphon pump for air. But if we can move the air through there 5 times an hour, we can make it hypoallergenic. And it works the same way with cigarette smoke, by the way. With enough return air, we can take cigarette smoke out, but done that many times.
Are you in Vegas in some of the casinos?
I have some casinos in Nevada, but I have not done Vegas and I've not done it on purpose. But yes, I've done casinos, but not in Vegas. And I'll tell you off sometime why I didn't do that.
Okay, yeah, it can be tough. They've got a pretty strong union there. And
Well, I've had a lot of people try to take what I've had through the years, so
I
some
get that.
people want to learn all they can and steal what they learn.
I completely understand because, we've certainly seen our share of folks who, make a claim that they have, but they don't have what you have because they're not Tim Mitchell, and you're the one who's created and designed it and has worked on it now for all these years. You've been around the block. So what is your long-term vision? Where would you like to see the company in 5 years, and where would you like to see your reach, your personal goal for 5 years out?
Well, first of all, this is something that I was telling you, I have dreams and I've seen most of this stuff in dreams and got up and wrote it down on a napkin and then went and built it. But I feel like the reason I'm here is when I read the Bible and they talk about the end times. Everybody reads about the wars and the earthquakes and the famines, but very few people read about the pestilence. And I know 1/3 of the world is going to die through pestilence. And I think we've got an answer to pestilence because I have yet to find anything that we put in that machine that can survive coming out the other side of it. When COVID happened, we literally had school districts that got in front of it and never had a single case of COVID in a complete school district. That's the reason I started trying to put them on the buses because what was happening, they were testing them at the door, but they were some of them were catching it on the bus, going to bus and then to school and then get sent home. But it just will not allow viruses, bacteria, fungus, mold to stay alive when it's presented to that killing chamber. And I call it a catalytic converter is what I call it.
And so inside, without getting too fancy with the mechanism of action, there is 2 lights.
On some machines, there's 20 lights.
Okay, some machines have 20 lights. So the Mini has how many lights and filters?
It's got a pre-filter to keep cockroaches out. And then it's got 3 reactor pads and 2 lights.
Got it.
Quite simply, if y'all can see this, all of my reactor pads, well, let me get one. All of my reactor pads are coated and they look this color, okay? That's how I know they've been coated.
Very cool.
Okay, the coated material with a UV light, and the UV light has to be a certain distance from it. Every time you move further away from it, you lose a percentage of the killing power, okay?
Mhm.
So it's all about the science, what is the maximum killing capacity, and that's what we've reached with every one of our machines.
Very cool. Very cool. And so back to kind of the long-term vision. I know that being in service is very important to you, doing good work that really is helping to change people's lives and help to, give people a quality of life that they didn't have, because they didn't know about ASIET. They didn't know about Tim Mitchell and all of your incredible filtration, and and really, um, it's sort of, I mean, it's more like transformation devices, because it's really transforming the air from toxic air to healthy air. So they're really not filtration systems. They're really environmental transformation systems. I don't know if it's fair to say that. I'm not trying to change what you're calling it, but to me, you are transmuting, you are taking from one form that is toxic and moving it to a non-toxic, hypoallergenic form. So to me, that's a transmutation or a transformation rather than a filtration. And I really appreciate you kind of clarifying earlier in the talk that, in fact, it's not that it's filtering the air, it's that
That's right.
as the air is passing through, if I heard you correctly, it's killing all the pathogens as it goes through and exchanging 5 times per hour, ideally, which transforms that air from a toxic situation into a non-toxic,
Hypoallergenic environment.
yeah, hypoallergenic environment. So,
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, so that's really exciting. And that being the case, is there a population that is nearest and dearest to you? Is there
Oh,
a
yes.
where would you like to see this in 5 years in terms of kinds of populations and buildings and situations? What's Tim Mitchell's vision for 5 years from now? If you could just close your eyes and vision it, and and with the help of your friends, and the good Lord giving you a little boost and support along the way, what is that Tim Mitchell vision?
Well, let me go back 5 years, okay? And my wife and my children and everybody that knows me thought I was crazy. 5 years ago, I was offered an enormous amount of money for 10% of my company. And I had the check in my hand. They said, there's a check, your name's on it. We want 10% of your company. I handed the check back. Now, everybody thought I was crazy. And maybe I was. But they did not bring anything to the table other than they were going to try to make us a big deal and try to sell us off globally at some point. They could have never done that with 10% of the company, but that was their goal. And they were good friends of mine and they're good people. What I was looking for was people to help me grow the company. And those people have come along. My wife and I own 100% of the company right now. What do I see 5 years from now? Well, I'm going to be 5 years older, and I don't know if I'll even be here. So somebody's going to have to be doing this, and I'm bringing people in that are very good at it, that are non-family, and trying to bring in some family. But I'm looking for people to help me make this where it's less expensive and easier to obtain, and everywhere's got it. We do so much in the medical field and we do so much in the educational field. But you asked me where my heart was, just like that deal I sent you about the lady that had the MRSA. She was 90-something years old and dying, and we put that machine in her room. The very old and the very young and the very sick's my heart. And it makes my day when I can help somebody.
Mm.
And I can't tell you how many people have told me over the years that I've saved their life. It's in the hundreds. And they've experienced something with this air that they'd never experienced before. So those kind of things are worth more to me than money. Now, I know what I've got and I know what it's worth, and I'm not going to be giving it away. But at the same time, I'm looking for people to help me grow the business, manufacture the product, distribute it worldwide. And we do sell all over the world. We've sold to Dubai and Saudi Arabia and the Philippines. Most of our business is in the United States. But I guess all I can tell you, this isn't my business, it's God's.
Understood. Understood. And how many years old is the business now?
I've been doing this 22 years.
And what does ASIET stand for?
Well, see, I was trying to come up with a good name for what it actually does.
Mhm.
And it actually stands for Air Scrubbers International Environmental Technologies Incorporated. And if you say that 20 times a day, you'll be wore out and have to go to bed. So I come up with ASIET, ASIET. That's the acronym.
Okay. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. I do have one more question because I think that people would love to know about this. Your system has been used in hospitals for burn patients. And I'd love for you to share that story that you shared with me because it was very beautiful and impactful.
What gets most burn patients is mold. Most burn patients die from the exposure to mold.
Mhm.
And it's been used in a lot of different wound care situations, but basically, if we can put the people in a tent and put the air in the tent, the mold counts are going to go way, way down. By the way, anybody that's seeing this that wants to contact me or go to my website, I don't mind sharing the science with you, and I don't mind showing you, even if it's just, I do this so much. There's so many individuals, and I can't tell you how many people say I bought 8, 10, 12 different things trying to do what you've done for me. I wished I'd have known about yours first. I wouldn't have wasted the money on all the rest of them. We're just a little bit unique in what we do. And we take a great deal of pride in the fact that it'll work for you about 50 cents a day. Because if you figure the longevity and the total cost with replacement parts, it's that little machine you've got, Dr. Bruder, is about 50 cents a day.
And I just put on the screen in the meeting chat, justgoodcleanair.com, correct?
That's it. Yes, sir.
So everybody, you can go and you could click on justgoodcleanair.com, and that will connect you to ASIET, which is the company that Tim and his wife started all those years ago. Justgoodcleanair.com, and I think that'd be great because then you could take a look at all the different models and see what would be best. And I love the idea that you can actually have this run through your ductwork so that it's cleaning the entire air system going through the house, but also to have some of those areas where it may be a little stronger potential for pathogens, and knowing that you're really knocking that out, which I think is critical and pretty wonderful to be able to do. And
if I may, let me share something real quick, because
mhm.
you just mentioned something that I wasn't going to share. That one of the school districts that I do down in the Houston area had a MRSA outbreak in their gym and in their locker room. And they literally had 2 units side by side. And they had me to install a 7711, which is a unit that can go on a heating and air conditioning system on 1 unit, okay? I got a testimony, and it's been, I don't know, 15 years later. This 1 unit, the inside of it, the coils and everything else is dust-free and looks brand new. And the one that wasn't being treated looks like it needs to be replaced. That was just a testimonial I got a few months ago from one of my school districts.
And,
So
and, and what did you say about the second unit? What was the problem with that?
they just put it on one unit. Everybody's cheap. Oh, by the way, we got them out of the MRSA situation
Mm-hmm.
in a day or two. It
Oh,
was
that's
gone.
fantastic.
It was no longer an issue. But
Uh-huh.
not only was their locker cleaned, it was cleaning their gym too. So
Ah,
for
I
less than
see.
at that time, it was less than $4,000 for the machine. And it's been working 15 years now.
Wow. So the first unit is still working. The second unit was
It
not.
still works. It just looks like it's filthy.
I see.
See, we clean the duct from the inside out
I see.
so that it's not contaminated with all the stuff that builds up inside of a 15-year-old unit. She said it looked as clean and pristine as the day she bought it. And I said,
Incredible.
why didn't you buy it in two? And she said they wouldn't let me spend the money. So money
Amazing.
is always what stops people from having progress.
And everybody needs to have these systems in their home, in their office. There is no longer any need to have a sick building or a sick home or aircraft or anything when we have access to your transformational technology, which to me, this is not a privilege. This should not be an optional thing for quality of life and longevity. People need a ASIET system for their home. Look, they're spending billions of dollars on their dogs and cats. Why would you not have one of these devices for your home? And and
See, you
give us
get me
an
off on the
idea.
side. You get me off on the sidebar all the time. Talking about cats and dogs. This kills kennel cough, parvo, and up until COVID, my number two sales was to pet facilities, pet resorts. And we kind of set that aside because we're so busy with COVID and anthrax, all the different things that we're dealing with now.
Right,
But it's
right.
funny you mentioned pets. It's great for the pets as well. It
And
makes them
just
much healthier.
and thank you for that. And just to give people an idea, just a beginning sort of position. Obviously, if someone is, putting this in gymnasiums and throughout school systems, it's going to be pretty extensive. But if we were focusing on, for example, just a mini for their bedroom, what do the units start at if they want to be able to have a unit that they can use, say, in their home, and then for an entire home unit, just some kind of a ballpark idea. I'm not asking for you to kind of lock it down, but in the September 2024 pricing, they start at around what, and it goes up for a whole home to about what, just to give a ballpark idea.
Well, homes are all different sizes, so that's, the size. I need to know the cubic feet and how many animals and people are in there. But to answer your question, we're fixing to have a price increase. We've not had a price increase in over 15 years. Right now, if you buy it today, you can buy that mini for under $2,000.
Right.
We're signing a government contract in the very near future. It could be days, it could be weeks, it could be months. You know how it is with anything that you're doing with the government. But the price is
Absolutely.
going to be $2,300. So today it's around 2,000. It's going to be around 23 when that contract's in place.
Got it. Got it.
And let's talk about my house. My house, I have a mini. Oh, and I got to tell you about my wife. I've got a mini running. I've got a 11 running, and I've got a 30 running. So my house was about $6,000 to do my whole house 22 years ago. I wanted to tell you about my wife. When my wife was caretaking her mother, who's passed away in the last couple of years, she had to go to an assisted living center and sit 18 hours a day sometimes. And everybody up there had COVID.
Mm.
And when she finally caught COVID and I brought her home, we could not go to a hospital. I treated my wife at my home. I put her on the couch. I put a mini blowing on her feet and I put a mini sucking away from her head.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was 18 days that I took care of her, fed her, took care of everything. And I never wore a mask. I never wore a gown. I never wore gloves, and I never got COVID.
Wow.
That's how it cleans up the environment, even with a sick person in it.
Incredible. Clearly, you've got something that is like no other, and it's making such a huge difference. I know that it's made a huge difference in my life. And, you were so kind when we were able to acquire the system for our daughter who had black mold in her dorm at San Francisco State University. We were able to get that in her room, and it made a huge, huge difference, which I'm so forever grateful to you for, but still stunned to this day that the San Francisco, State University here in California, that they still have declined to take any steps to put cheesecloth and to prevent any mold from the system to come into the bathrooms. And I find it shocking, Tim, that more school systems don't automatically say, "Oh my gosh, we need to get these in our schools, in our dorms." And it's not like they're not charging enough for each dorm that they couldn't put one of these in each kid's rooms.
You ought to be living under this little black hat I'm under.
Yeah.
I'm just mystified that people want to just remain ignorant and indifferent. I've got a joke. What do you think's the biggest problem in the world, ignorance or indifference? And when you talk to most people, they say, I don't know and I don't care.
Yeah. There
That's
you
the
go.
that's the attitude of most
Yeah.
people. They
Yeah.
don't worry about the cows getting out. They don't worry about fixing the fence. But
Yeah.
yet when all the cows are out and they're getting run over on the side of the road, then it becomes a big deal.
Hmm.
Uh, Everybody would benefit from having these, but literally Google, because what we do, I get notified every time there's a sick building with mold anywhere in
Hmm.
the United States and sometimes overseas.
Hmm.
And I can tell you, I've contacted 22 school districts in the last 2 months that, by the way, I sent an article out before schools let out telling them, do not turn your air conditioner off when school lets out. Keep your air conditioner running. What do? Turn their air conditioners off. What
Hmm.
happens? There's no way to get the moisture out of school. The temperature goes up 10 degrees and it turns to mold. But of those 22 school districts, guess how many of them have ever called me back? One.
One.
One
My.
out of 22. And I've reached out to every one of them with 15 or 20 different people,
Right.
and they just ignore, well, he's making claims that can't be possible.
Hmm.
Then I tell them, let me send you a letter this with single spacing of people that have used it in the past, and you call any or all of them and ask them if it works or not. They don't want the referral letter.
Yeah. Yeah.
People
It's
just want to
shocking.
turn a blind eye to
Yeah.
a problem because it's new to them, but it's definitely not new to me.
Yeah.
I've done over 420 mold restorations.
Hmm.
I invented the equipment. I mean, this is second nature to me. I've had hundreds of calls from people that referred by their physician or their medical people,
Hmm.
mostly holistic, and everything from mold, uh, well, you name it. The doctors have sent them, and to the best of my knowledge, it's helped every one of them, and they're all been satisfied. We've been in business 22 years and never had a lawsuit. So we
That's
just try to do
fantastic.
what we say.
Wow. Well, Tim Mitchell, ASIET, and your incredible, incredible transformational quality of air systems. I'm blown away and grateful And my wish is that everybody would really consider putting at least a mini in their bedroom to see how this can change the quality of their lives. I know that since we brought it into our home, and we have 3 cats, 2 dogs, 2 birds, and I had allergies. I have 0 allergies now. All I can tell you is the only difference now from how it was before, I did not have an ASIET system in my home. Now I do. I have 0 allergy symptoms. And it's the only thing that's changed. And the only time that I feel any kind of allergy deal is if I go into because I travel a lot and teach people all about ISIS technologies and train doctors and mental health experts. And if I'm in a hotel because I have to go do a training somewhere, that's when I'm aware of it. That's why I want to be the first kid on the block to get one of your personal units so that if I have to go into a strange place, I can keep that near me and have a better quality of life, even if I'm not in my own home, if I have to be on a plane. I cannot tell you how grateful I am for you being with us today and sharing all this incredible knowledge and information. The website, again, is justgoodcleanair.com. Just Good Clean Air. Makes sense. Thank you so much, Tim, for being with us. God bless you for the great work that you're doing out there. I hold that dream with you. And off we go. Take a look them up, justgoodcleanair.com, and get at least a mini right away. Tim, before we say goodbye, is there anything you'd like to say in closing, please?
Yes, one thing, and I'm really sincere about this. I take all my own phone calls. It's not when you call that number, you won't be getting somebody trying to keep you from talking to me. Anybody that's got any kind of issue that they want to talk about with indoor air quality, I'll take time to spend, and I think you know how many hours you and I have spent when you bring up a question and ask me. That's what I love to do, is help people, because this is old hat to me, but it's very, very foreign to most people. So if you have a friend or a loved one or even a client, give them my number. And I guarantee you, there is no pressure. There is no
Tim,
pressure on our
we
end.
have justgoodcleanair.com. Can you just go ahead and mention the phone number before we wrap
Yes,
up
sir.
today?
Yes, sir. And it's on the website. It's 806-438-5598. And that's my cell phone.
And
So
so say it one more time.
806-438-5598. And if you go to
Fantastic.
Just Good Clean Air, you'll see it all over that website.
Fantastic. Tim, thank you so much. Keep up the phenomenal work that you're doing. I want to see this in every hospital, every school. I want to see it in every area of our military and first responders and folks' homes, their cars. I want to see it on every plane, train, and automobile. I'm right there with you, brother. Take great care. God bless you. Keep the great work up. Best to you and your family. And thank you so much for being with us today.
And thank you for allowing me to do this. I appreciate it so much.
Absolute pleasure.